you invest like your grandparents, you're gonna die broke. Here's why the play it safe strategy is a guarantee for failure. So our grandparents or our parents, right? They've always taught us to set it and forget it, save everything, spend nothing, save forever, be cheap, and hopefully you sacrifice and save enough, you'll have something someday. But the problem is it just hasn't worked. I realized this first as a financial advisor as I started to see the evidence of decades of financial advice for people, they weren't able to retire well. And this is the problem, is that we're seeing so many people retiring broke. Even Fidelity, their 401k stats and their IRA stats came out. Of all their 45 million accounts, only 900,000, 2%, have about $1 million in it. And remember, when you try to think about how you pull off money, $1 million will only pay you $30,000 a year if you're in your 60s, if you're pulling out the 3% rule. So the problem is this, is that people are retiring broke. They need Social Security, and that's why they're relying on it. That's why we'll never lose, at least in the short term, I don't think we'll ever lose Social Security, because I can guarantee there will be a massive country revolt if we did. And this is what we're dealing with, right? Because people keep trying to save everything, they spend nothing, they try to pay off all their debt. And just like my own father, who was the set it and forget it mentality, the slave and save away, right? He was cheap as he could be. And despite being cheap and saving everything, even in his 401k, getting the company match, he still didn't have enough to retire until he got into his 70s. He had to keep going, especially when the markets go up and down and all around, right? This is the problem. So people think they can put money in 401ks and IRAs, and they think that somehow it's going to magically work. Well, if it hasn't magically worked for the last several decades, why would it work in the future? And we're seeing more and more people wise up to this. More and more people of my generation, Gen Xers, they're realizing like this isn't working. Even millennials are realizing like, wait a minute, my parents, they're still retiring broke, and we don't want that to be the case. And so again, millennials are figuring it out. Us Xers are figuring out. The boomers, unfortunately, even though they had the best stock market, the best real estate markets to go with, they're still retiring broke. What hope is there for us? This is why you got to do it different. This is why we talk about what I refer to as the work optional blueprint. 3 things of advice I would give you is get lean, get liquid, and get out, right? So get lean means be a wise steward of your money. Watch how much money is coming in, how much money is going out. Track your money, not just monthly, not just yearly, but at least every few weeks, if not weekly. Track your money, know what's going on with it. Make sure you get rid of costs or expenses that aren't serving your life right now, and focus on prioritizing the ones that do. Make sure you have enough money to save. Build up your savings. Don't lock away in prison. Don't try to pay off your house faster than you should be, which, by the way, a lot of people are regretting that, because my dad did the same thing, and now in his older years, he's thinking he has to get a bank loan to be able to survive long enough to let his money last, right? So don't do that. Don't fall into that trap. Don't pay off your house faster than you need to. Don't lock up in those 401ks just because you get the company match, which, by the way, company match just makes up for the bad performance of those horrible target date funds that they give you. And yes, they do. They underperform the stock market significantly. Don't get caught in that trap. Instead, get your money liquid so then you can get it out into passive investments. Things that actually pay you passive income right now, not hoping and praying that you get a return decades from now. I'll give you an example. I had a client where he had about $250,000 locked up in his IRAs and just mutual funds and things like that. And he said, Chris, like, what do I do? I know I need to do something different, because I'm almost 50 years old, and if I keep going at this rate, I may never be able to retire. And I said, well, let's get that money out. Let's get it liquid. Expense-wise, he was doing fine. He was a very good, disciplined saver. But as we started to get the money liquid, then we said, great, where do we go? Now, in his case, this is, of course, before 2020. Right then, the best thing that he was looking at was looking at real estate properties. It's like, hey, if you go for these real estate properties, these are paying really well right now. Start to buy those. So he took that $250,000, bought those properties. And guess what? Now, 7 years later, what do we see? Those properties now, that $250,000, now the equity in those properties is about $250,000, and he's got income, passive income coming in of about $4,000 a month all the time. Now, in the meantime, during 2020 and also during 2022, he had some work interruptions, right? Not so much layoffs, but the industry's closed down because of 2020 and things like that, and because of strikes going on. So he wasn't even getting paid for a lot of those years. But still, he had the money coming in to make sure he stayed afloat while still having money liquid in the bank for those emergencies. I had another client, same kind of thing. Now, this guy was all about trying to pay off his debt, pay off his mortgages. He had an investment property and his home. And he figured if he pay those off, he'll be better off. And he was still throwing money away into his 401k too. So he's trying to get all of his money locked up in prison. And I told him, I said, listen, you've got this property here, this investment property, it's only cash flowing $200 a month. But if you sell it, and take that money out, there's $700,000 we can go invest elsewhere and make a lot more money than that. And what did he do? We did that. He bought a bunch of properties in Louisiana, and then he started reinvesting all the cash flow from that because I was making $6,000 a month. And just a few years later, right now, would be about the time he was going to be quote unquote debt free, and then say have a whopping $2,400 a month coming in from his rent. Instead, now he has over $100,000 a year coming in because of that. You cannot follow your grandparents' rules. You can't just do the same old set and forget it mentality. It doesn't work. You got to invest for passive income today so you can become work optional. So you work because you want to, not because you have to. And we've had many, many clients, hundreds of our clients we've had go through building up their passive income into the thousands and some even to the tens of thousands of dollars a month because they're able to get their money working for them today so that they don't have to work so hard for it. Now, if you want to learn more how to do that, why don't you just book a call with us? You can go to moneyripples.com/consulting and see how you can make that work optional blueprint work in your life right now.